The most stark mental health indicator in this case is a documented history of schizophrenia, combined with repeated refusal of medication, which reportedly led to ongoing experiences of auditory hallucinations and paranoia. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and in this episode of the Clinical File, I'll examine the mental health indicators and psychological layers of the Ryan Camacho case. This analysis is based on my speculations. It's not a diagnosis of anyone involved in this case. One of the most concerning patterns here involves untreated serious mental illness, intersecting with long criminal history. Court records indicate Ryan Camacho had a diagnosed history of schizophrenia as far back as at least 2019. His defense attorney at the time noted that he refused medication and dealt with intermittent auditory hallucinations and paranoia. This refusal to engage with treatment often leaves individuals vulnerable to escalating symptoms that can influence behavior in unpredictable ways. In late December 2025, Camacho faced a breaking and entering charge. He was deemed mentally unfit to stand trial in that matter, leading to the case being dismissed. Rather than resulting in involuntary commitment, he was released. Within days, on January 3, 2026, events took a tragic turn in Raleigh, North Carolina. Zoe Welch, a 57-year-old science teacher at a private school and a mother, was at home on Clay Street near Wade Avenue and called 911 to report a break-in. During the call, she told the dispatcher that she had been hit in the head with a brick. Officers responded quickly, and they located Camacho in the surrounding area, took him into custody without incident, and later charged him with her murder, along with a felony breaking and entering. The recent development came on February 10, 2026. A Wake County grand jury indicted Camacho on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree burglary. He remains in the Wake County Detention Center without bond. His next court appearance is scheduled for March 25, 2026. This sequence raises serious questions about how untreated psychosis can contribute to escalating risk. Schizophrenia often involves distortions in reality testing. When medication is refused, paranoia can intensify, sometimes leading individuals to perceive threats that are not present or to act in ways that seem irrational to others. In this instance, the choice to enter a private residence and the reported use of a brick as a weapon suggests a level of disorganized or impulsive aggression that aligns with severe, unmanaged symptoms. Camacho's criminal record stretches back 2 decades. It includes nonviolent misdemeanors such as trespassing in 2017, where he was convicted on 1 count. Earlier in California, he had convictions in 2009 for manufacturing and possessing a dangerous weapon, and in 2010 for grand theft. In 2019, he faced 8 felony counts in Raleigh for shooting into an occupied home in Yarville Park Drive. Court filings from that period again referenced his schizophrenia diagnosis and medication refusal. This pattern shows repeated contacts with the justice system, yet they had limited sustained mental health intervention for him. Involuntary commitments occurred in earlier years, including 2016 and 2018, but the cycle of unrest, evaluation release, and the reoffense continued. This highlights a broader challenge in mental health and criminal justice systems, balancing individual rights with public safety when someone experiences chronic symptoms and declines treatment. From a psychological perspective, paranoia can create a heightened sense of danger. An individual might interpret neutral situations as threatening and respond with preemptive aggression. While we can't know Camacho's exact internal experience that night, the documented hallucinations and paranoia provide the context for why someone might act in ways that appear random or disproportionate to outsiders. The break-in didn't seem planned for financial gain in a conventional sense. No clear motive like robbery has been publicly detailed. Zoe Welch's final moments were captured in that 911 transcript. She reached out for help while she was under attack. Her death left the community grieving a dedicated educator who worked with students daily. The psychological impact on her family, colleagues, and her students cannot be overstated. Sudden violent loss often leads to complicated grief, heightened anxiety, and a lasting sense of vulnerability. If this breakdown of how untreated symptoms can intersect with behavior gave you a clearer picture of the complex factors at play here, I would love to keep bringing you these analyses. Subscribe if you want the next one to land in your feed. That way you'll always have the psychological context ready when the next case breaks. It's free. It only takes 2 seconds, and it helps me keep making content that actually matters. Returning to Camacho's history, the repeated trespassing and property-related offenses suggest a possible pattern of boundary violations. In some cases involving psychosis, individuals may wander or enter spaces due to delusions or disorientation rather than deliberate criminal intent. However, the escalation to violence in 2019 and again in 2026 points to moments where symptoms overwhelmed any internal controls. Overconfidence in one's perceptions despite evidence to the contrary is another factor worth considering. When paranoia dominates, individuals may believe their actions are justified or necessary for self-protection. This can lead to choices that seem illogical from the outside, such as leaving evidence or failing to evade capture effectively. Camacho was found nearby shortly after the incident, which speaks to the lack of elaborate planning or flight strategy. The refusal of medication stands out as a key decision point here. Many people with schizophrenia lead stable lives with proper treatment. Medication adherence can significantly reduce hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking. When someone consistently declines it, the risk of decomposition increases. Court records show this was the ongoing issue for Camacho across multiple years and jurisdictions. This case also illustrates the difficulty courts face in deciding when mental health concerns warrant long-term commitment. In the December 2025 breaking and entering matter, prosecutors sought commitment, but the judge denied it. Legal experts have noted that property crimes alone often don't meet the threshold for involuntary hospitalization, even with a known diagnosis. The result was release, followed by tragedy less than 2 weeks later. From a clinical viewpoint, this underscores the importance of continuity of care. Fragmented systems, homelessness, and a lack of stable support can exacerbate symptoms. Camacho appeared to be homeless at the time. Without consistent follow-up, small crises can build into major ones. The community response and rally has included calls for better handling of mental health in the justice system. Neighbors and colleagues describe Welsh as kind and engaged. Her loss has prompted reflection on vulnerability in one's own home. A picture emerges of a chronic unmanaged illness driving the cycle of behavior that ultimately led to irreversible harm. The why behind the crime likely ties to distortion of perceptions and impaired judgment rather than a calculated malice in a conventional sense. That does not excuse the outcome, but it offers a framework for understanding. People sometimes overestimate how invisible they become during impulsive acts. The suspect's quick apprehension shows that evidence trails can form rapidly when judgment is compromised. This appears to be another example of where confidence in one's own distorted reality did not align with the actual consequences. As someone who spends far too much time thinking about these cases, even I found the repeated missed opportunities for intervention sobering. If walking through this case gave you new insight into how serious mental health illness, when untreated, can shape behavior and lead to devastating outcomes, do me a small favor. Hit that subscribe button. Not because I need validation, but because if you don't, I'll just sit here staring at the empty subscriber graph. Subscribe so we can keep unpacking the darkest minds together. No therapy bill required. The indictment marks a formal step forward in the legal process. First-degree murder and first-degree burglary charges reflect the prosecution's view of the incident as intentional and involving unlawful entry with a deadly force. This case serves as a reminder that mental health struggles don't inherently lead to violence, but when combined with refusal of treatment, prior violence, and a lack of support, the risk rises significantly. Prevention often depends on early sustained intervention. There are so many tragedies here Ryan had a serious mental health illness. Schizophrenia is a serious mental health illness. It's not uncommon for people with schizophrenia to deny treatment. It's a very big problem, though, for family members and for the community. Somebody who is not treated for schizophrenia is likely going to do harm to either themselves or to someone else. And that's what happened in this case. He was not new to the legal system. They knew he had mental illness and schizophrenia and yet released him anyway without treatment. Wow. So what did you think about this case? Were there any elements about the Camacho case that stood out to you? Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and watch this next video. You're going to really like it.